Good evening. Welcome in again, idiots, for the second night in a row. No offense, but if you're hanging out with me and Drew King 2 nights in a row, look, the moniker really is deserved. Appreciate you guys being here. State of the Tigers live as we are every single Monday night at 7 o'clock. Brought to you by our friend James Carlton, State Farm Insurance in Webster Groves, Missouri. I'm going to go out on a limb and bet that at 9:10 p.m. on Friday night, James Carlton is going to have his butt planted in a seat in the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri. Do not bother him there and talk to him about insurance. You can bother him there and talk to him about Missouri basketball. He'll be more than happy to do that. But any other time before 9:10 p.m. Friday, you can get in touch with James at carltoninsurance.net or at 314-961-4800. He is going to save you money on your insurance rates, and he is going to break down every single aspect of Mizzou and Miami with you. Drew King on the screen now, and we're not going to waste any time tonight. We are starting the show with our Miami preview. We're going to bring in Chris Stock from InsideTheU. That is the Miami site on the 24/7 Sports Network. I was on with Chris earlier today. He is now returning the favor. Chris, you've had a wardrobe change since 10:30 this morning, so good to see us both in different clothes to do this thing again.
Absolutely. Glad to be here, Gabe. What's going on, Drew?
How's it going?
Chris, let's jump into this, man. First of all, what was the reaction from Miami fans and from Jay Lucas when they go, okay, cool, 7 seed St. Louis, makes sense. Oh, hang on, we're playing this school that's 125 miles away in St. Louis.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense for people. And maybe if the seeds were flipped, you'd understand it a little bit more. But yeah, Miami's the higher seed. Why is that the draw? It's hard to figure out. But look, as Jay Lucas said, he said it too. Look, he was a little surprised, but they're 8-2 on the road, and they've done well. Away from home. And I remember. We'll see how the crowd goes, but just Miami played a neutral site game against Florida early in the year. It was in Jacksonville. It was not a neutral site game. It felt like 98, 99%. It was just a bunch of Florida fans, and they've been in that environment. They didn't win that game, but they've been in that environment. So I think they'll just kind of take it and move on. And that's just kind of the team they are. They pride themselves on being tough and very physical. So if you're going to be that team, have that identity, you can't worry about the draw, even though it is a little bit odd, given that Miami is the higher seed in this one.
I got you. Obviously, this is Jay Lucas's first season as a head coach. What's kind of stood out to you about how he's put this team together and kind of building that identity that they found?
Yeah, all new roster. All the guys are new. All the coaches are new. And one thing that Jay said early on in the year, and this was kind of a periodic thing throughout the season of just kind of learning more about him as a head coach and what has the transition been like. And one of the things he said early on was he had to kind of learn not just the players, but learn how to coach the other coaches. And he made a point of it recently that none of these guys he's worked with before. So it's not just all the new players, but they did a great job. They transfer portal identified Malik Renew as essentially the guy, and they've kind of built around him. Trey Donaldson, get him at point guard. And they really did a good job of starting with their top pieces. And, you get Ernest Uday. Those are 3 seniors. Those are great three players to start with. You get the freshman and Shelton. They've kind of just built it they just kind of built it well from the beginning. Now they don't have much of a bench, and it could play a factor, on Friday against Missouri, or if they win moving on, we'll see. But, I just think he wanted to have this identity, and he had these things in mind, and they've really done a good job of having that. This isn't a perfect team. It's not one of these just all around great teams, but they do a lot of things well. And that's what led them to 25 wins. They have a strong identity. They know who they are. They know who they want to be. And I think that's been the key for Jay here in his first season at Miami.
Talking with Chris Stock from InsideTheU. And you mentioned Malik Renew. We were talking on our show last night when the matchup came out. Missouri doesn't face a lot of teams that you look at and go, oh, that's their Mark Mitchell, right? But it's kind of the same. They play the same position. They play pretty similarly. Do you look at this game and say it's Mitchell versus Renew, and the guy that is the bigger star, probably his team wins? Or do you look at it more as maybe those guys cancel each other out and it's more about the supporting cast?
Yeah, I think the big thing with Mark Mitchell, like seeing him score 32, these last couple games. Malik's been over 20. He had a really strong, steady, double figures every game, kind of in this range of 14 to 22, kind of just real steady. And Coach Lucas has mentioned throughout the season, there's times during a game where he feels like Malik's not playing quite as well as he would like, and then he looks up and he's got 18 and 10 and kind of a game. He's just kind of he goes about it. He's going to get his shots. He will, he faces double teams quite often. He finds a way out of it. The other day he went 14 to 16 from the free throw line. So he just kind of finds different ways. He's going to take their shots, and you'll see his hand taped up, his left thumb, his shooting hand. He dislocated that recently, but he's been playing through it and he's been doing fine. The biggest thing with Malik is he had a couple early fouls in the game recently, but the turnovers, they tend to pop up a little bit more. It's not a good thing for him, but they pop up on the road or neutral site games this year. I don't know why that is. He was trying to, whatever it might be, but if you just look at his game logs, that's what's kind of happened. So that'll be big. But I think Miami's got other guys. To answer your question, I kind of went on about Malik, but they got Trey Donaldson can score. Shelton can get to the basket. He can have some points there, and they're going to need other guys to score. But those guys are capable of doing that, and I think really they need all three of them playing well and scoring points for them to kind of keep on moving and win on against Missouri.
Yeah, Chris, I think what's interesting with Malik and Trey Donaldson is I think before the season, everyone knew they were good players, but I think at Miami, they've really become kind of a 1-2 punch. And so what have you seen this season out of them where I think they're both averaging like career best stats across the board? What's kind of unlocked that kind of next step for them?
Well, I'll talk about Trey a little bit. I watched almost all of his games at Michigan. Just happened that he ended up at Miami. So I was very familiar with him as a player. And the biggest thing is kind of a role situation. When he got to Miami, they wanted to get him, even though he was a point guard at Michigan the year before, the way they kind of ran their offense, they kind of ran through their forwards. And Trey was on the floor, obviously, quite a bit. But at Miami, they wanted to really give him the ball and let him make some more decisions and really trust him. And I think that's been a big thing. Same way with Malik, just more expectation of the role. And look, Malik, you're our guy. You're our guy that's going to get the most shots. I think that's been a big thing. Now, getting them to produce, that's obviously been big too. Assistant coaches, everybody involved in helping them, kind of produce at this level has been big. But I think it's also too just an example of a couple seniors that feel comfortable with this system, and they know that they are the two guys. I think that's the biggest thing with this team is these two guys in particular brought in to serve a particular role. There was no question. It wasn't anybody that was going to take their job. It wasn't anyone else that essentially could be their top scorers. It was going to be these two from day one, and they've kind of just understood that. And Coach Lucas likes that. Guys have roles, and I think that's been big for this team. Now, again, not much depth. That's kind of the drawback on it. But these two guys have, as you mentioned, taken that step from good players, shown flashes at their previous stops, and been solid players or good, but really elevated. And I thought they were two of the best in the ACC, kind of really from start to finish.
Want to take it kind of away from specifically Friday night in this game. We talked about it when I was on with you this morning a little bit, but I know there are Missouri fans that kind of want to know how Marcus Allen's doing and what the latest is with him. Obviously had the diagnosis earlier this year, but I think you said he was in the building and with the team at the ACC tournament. Do you expect Marcus to be able to make this trip?
Yeah, I would think so. I'm not sure exactly. Some of this stuff has to do with his treatments and the reason why. So he missed he didn't attend the first game at the ACC tournament. He was going through his second to last round of chemo, and then he was able to essentially surprise everybody, the whole team, the next day there in Charlotte. He showed up at the shoot around, and everybody was really happy. And he went through warmups, and he's been at games, he's been at practices. He's actually when he has all of these, doctor's appointments and things like that, he's still keeping Coach Lucas in touch or telling him, look, I'm not able to make practice today because I have this. And Coach Lucas he's like, I understand, you've got your own thing, but Marcus clearly wants to be a part of it. And he has been. He's been around. And ever since it came out, the team, and you'll see it there, I'm sure at the game, the team, the managers, everybody wears shirts with Allen, the number 4 on it. He just has it's not just what he's going through. It's also the type of person he is. And I remember him back in high school. He's a guy that grew up here in Miami. So he was someone that I knew back then just a little bit, but he's just one of these guys that has quite a presence, and a lot of people are pulling for him. And, watching him, I've seen him dribble the ball and kind of do a little bit of shots. It's typically what he does when he's at the games before the game, during warmups. But there at that last game, he went through it all. He did all the warmups. He lay up line, the whole thing, and it was just cool to see. And he did play some games early in the year. And Coach Lucas kind of hints at, this team has went through adversity, and Marcus was going to be and was at the time a key reserve for this team. But yeah, he's a lot of the guys. He's just one of those great guys everybody's kind of pulling for here.
I don't mean this as an insensitive question, because it's obviously not the important thing, but like, is there any idea if Marcus is going to be able to play again at some point?
I haven't asked anybody. They just, as soon as it came out, it was just kind of ruled out for the season. That's kind of where they went with it. But I would assume he's going to try. I don't really know. I don't really have the answers to that. But yeah.
Well, kind of on the same subject, obviously, Miami added C.Y. Young to their staff this offseason. And can you tell us a little bit about what he's brought to the team this season?
He has, if you've been around, he just has like this infectious person, like a strong personality, very exuberant. He's also kind of brought a little bit of some veteran leadership amongst the coaching staff on the assistant coaches. So he's always kind of an upbeat guy in the middle of games. He's always kind of rooting these guys on, really kind of pumping them up, almost like a hype man kind of a thing sometimes, or to kind of just get on them if they need it. So he's been good for the staff, and he's someone that, especially with his time at Florida State, has been very well known in the recruiting circles too. So, I think that's going to be big. And that's been a big part of really a lot of this, how they put this whole team together, has been a lot of, the connections that some of the staff has had with the players that they brought in, like Marcus, for example, with CY. And they knew these guys from before. Coach Lucas had recruited some of them at the previous stop. So that's been big. But yeah, Coach CY has been big, and he's kind of fit in, and again, just kind of that providing that energy, I think, has been a big thing for this team.
I know Drew can't wait to see him in the pregame media meal room. CY used to come in and steal one of the media meals before every game.
We've shared many chicken sandwiches with CY.
So we've talked so much about how these teams are like mirror images. They want to do the same things. They play the same way. The stats, the categories all kind of match up. When you've been looking at this over the last 24 hours, or maybe if you talk to anybody at Miami, is there an area that you see like a differentiation, like something maybe Miami does that matches up with something Missouri doesn't do? Or do you kind of view this like we do, of like, I don't know, they both know what they want to do, and it's just going to be who does it better Friday night?
Yeah, I think the big thing is how Miami looked in the last game against Virginia. It was so different than how they'd been looking really down the stretch. They'd been playing so well. They had the 4-game winning streak, and they kind of, they had won 3 there right at the end. They just had been playing well. They've been losing close games lately. They had the BYU, the Florida ones got away from them. They played at Clemson, that got away from them a little bit too. But the Virginia game, Virginia's really good. So I think that's the big thing. It's like this team hasn't been popped like that this year. What was that? Was it just second game in 2 days? And I say that, not that, Virginia was as well, but Virginia's got a deep team. Miami doesn't. So what was that? I think that's kind of the big thing that I'm thinking of, because we touched on it. These teams, they're going to get inside the paint. They're not going to shoot a ton of threes. But I think the big thing too for Miami, which has worked for them throughout the season, is they really try to find things, in-game adjustments, whether it's flipping to man to zone, flipping back to man in the middle of things. They kind of do this quite often. A lot of adjustments in the game. So that'll be something within a game, and Coach Lucas, head coach of the first NCAA tournament game, we'll see how that goes. But I think that's a big thing. And then just their three seniors have to play much better than they did last game. It was not nearly good enough, and Miami won't win games if they're not doing that. They just don't have enough other guys. It really falls on all three of them. And I think the big thing too with Ernest Uday at center there, he's been such a key part. There's games where he'll play 37, 38 minutes, which you don't see from a center that's physical and rebounds and affects shots. And there's been times when other teams have some bigs that can do some things, he gets kind of neutralized a little bit. So I think that'll be big in this one. But I'm expecting Trey and his competitiveness, Malik, I think they all know. So assuming they can kind of get back on track after what happened last game, it should be a much more competitive game for sure.
Well, just looking at the schedule, Miami's only lost back-to-back games once this year. And the next game after, I think Dante Allen got put into the starting lineup for True Washington. And so I'm curious, what kind of change did that make for the team with that sub?
Really, True's still one of their better players. He's a guy that can score. He's been scoring double figures, even coming off the bench. He's going to play heavy minutes. It really was just kind of shifting. They weren't getting a lot of production off the bench, not a lot of scoring. So really it was just kind of a time to kind of, let's put True on the bench. This is the coaching staff. They're thinking, and then Dante Allen is kind of more, he's just a glue piece. He's not going to put up a bunch of points or anything like that. He probably won't, there's games he doesn't outscore True, but Dante kind of fits in, and he's a freshman. He's a guy that they've liked all season long. So I think they kind of just want to try to get a little bit more scoring off the bench, and True provides that. But he's going to be out there 25 plus minutes, and it's not surprising if he plays more minutes than Dante. But it was just kind of, as the season went on, they kind of decided to go with the freshmen and try to mix things up a little bit. But that's how it'll go. They've not been flipping back and forth ever since they made that move.
Last thing for you, Chris. I'm big on, when I look at a bracket, what makes this tournament a success for a team, right? For Missouri, I know they're the lower seed, but they need to win a game. Where their program is this season, they need to come out with one win, go take your shot against Purdue. What makes this a success for Miami? Do they need to win this game, or is this season already coming off what last year was like? Is this a success regardless of what happens Friday night?
Yeah, you have to say it's a success. I mean, they went 7-24. It was a complete train wreck. And I know Coach Lucas, he said the other day, it wasn't a dumpster fire. He can say what he wants. It was pretty bad at Miami last year. And the year before, they lost the last 10 games. So they were 7-34 before he showed up. So it wasn't good. He didn't have a roster. So, yeah, 25-8. I mean, that's big time. Number 3 seed in the ACC. So it's hard to say, now, of course, it's disappointing because, as with the way turnover goes, and they've got 3 seniors, they know they're going to lose. But just, you always want to, as a team, when you have successful seasons, you always want to maximize it and get everything you can out of it. And I think even with it being in St. Louis, Miami's had the better season between these two teams. That's why they're the higher seed. So I think it would be a disappointment. And, I think winning a game, and then we'll see, it looks like Purdue's in that next matchup, and that'd be big for Miami to play in that one. But yeah, you always want to win, and you don't want to be the coach that gets upset, right? And you don't want to be known for being the coach that gets upset when you go to the tournament. So I think it's just absolutely, it's been a success, a huge increase from last year, everything. It looks like, when you come into it, you don't know if the head coach that hasn't coached before, can he coach? Can he be a head coach? And Coach Lucas has proven that he has. So you found that answer. But again, you just want to maximize it. And certainly with how they've been playing, aside from that last game, they've been playing well going into it. So I think it would definitely be disappointing. But yeah, it's already been a huge success.
Well, Chris, appreciate your time tonight, man. Appreciate you joining us. We're just trying to get you into the mode of being ready to cover a 10 o'clock game on Friday night. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, with what the ACC did with adding a couple West Coast teams for football games, those late night games that take forever. Yeah, but no, I'll be ready to go. 10 o'clock. We've got a few days to pace ourselves. So yeah, I've been on the road quite a bit this year, but yeah, I'll definitely be ready. It's exciting this time of year, all the games that happen. And I haven't checked it. Is it the last tip off? But
yeah,
it is the last game of the first round.
Yeah. So everybody's gonna be waiting around. So hopefully it's a good one, and we'll kind of see how all the games go. I'm excited to watch all the games leading up to it. But yeah, I'll be ready to go. Hopefully you guys will be too.
I think we all just gotta. I was going to say, I think we just got to reset our circadian rhythms, start going to bed a little bit later each night, wake up a little bit closer to noon, maybe.
Nap time, baby.
Yeah. Again, I'll take the college basketball timeline as opposed to football that takes, 3.5 hours, whatever it might be. So I don't think we'll see that. So, but this is what you want, right? Like last year, I'm thinking about, we touched on how bad it was for Miami, but they didn't even make the conference tournament. And so that you go from that to this, it's exciting. And look, for this fan base, I think they need that, right? They need the wins and, wins at this level. So certainly, hopefully we'll see how things go though.
All right. Well, Chris, appreciate your time, and we'll catch up later this week.
All right, Gabe. See you, Drew.
All right, that is Chris Stock. Inside the U covers the Hurricanes. You can check him out at Inside the U on Twitter. Good thing about the 24/7 network, you can go over and read Chris's stuff. You can read their message board. You cannot troll. You cannot mess with their subscribers, but you can read what they're saying about this game. Drew, I've already got a plan, man. The second half of Purdue Queens is going to be terrible. I'm taking a nap in the media room during the second half of Purdue, so I'm ready for this 9:30 because it's not going to be 9:10. I promise you, they're not tipping off at 9:10.
No, there's no shot. I mean, there's they usually got like drapes on the tables, and if you crawl underneath, I bet it's pretty dark under there.
That's a vet move. I like that. Yeah, a friend of mine texted me today and said you're not going to tip off till 10, and when the game before goes into double overtime. I said if Queens takes Purdue to double overtime, Matt Painter's going to have to walk back to West Lafayette.
That's true. Oh man.
All right. I want to invite you guys, see in the comments and stuff. Questions, whatever you want to put in the chat, throw our way. No voicemails tonight, just doing the regular Monday live show. So we'll take all your questions. And look, we covered a lot of the Missouri ground last night. So this is kind of we're going to talk a little bit about the rest of the region, the rest of the bracket, the NCAA tournament in general. Let's start with this from JoJo. Alabama coach Nate Oates addressed Aiden Holloway's status a little while ago, said, quote, "We are preparing to play without him this weekend." I was talking to one of my friends who covers Texas Tech earlier today, and he was saying, they play Alabama in the second round if they both win. He said, probably without Aiden Holloway. I said, most schools I'd say yes. Alabama? I don't know. Nate Oates might just go ahead and let that kid trot on out there.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too surprising for Nate Oates to do something like that. But man, what a story to come out just before like only your most important game of the season, right? I don't really have words for.
I mean, and like for those who haven't seen the story, basically the cops found more than a pound of marijuana and some paraphernalia in his apartment. That is the extent of what I know. I haven't read about it. But like, I don't know what the laws are in Alabama as far as if marijuana is legal. I do know that you are not supposed to have more than a pound of it because I believe that probably indicates some sort of intent to distribute, which is, I think, frowned upon unless you run a dispensary.
Yeah, well, and that I think one of his charges was like failure to affix a tax stamp, which you have to do that if you are a dispensary, and Aiden Holloway is not a dispensary.
That's like catching the mobsters on tax evasion.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's like what can we slap him with that we're going to be able to bring him in because dude has Nate Newton levels of weed in his apartment right now. So all joking aside, like, look, man, Georgia football and Bama basketball never fail to entertain with the police blotter stories.
Yeah. What I don't. I'm not gonna say nothing.
You're right, exactly. I mean, we don't want to get in too much trouble. We don't know Aiden Holloway. I'm sure he's a fine kid. But so how many SEC teams in this tournament do you think, not how many will get there, but how many do you think have the ability to make the Final Four?
To make the Final Four, I would go 3, Gabe. How about you?
I've been burned a little bit believing in Alabama.
Mhm.
And with this, I think I would go 2. Who
Okay.
are your 3?
So Florida number 1, they're 1 seed. You always have like the best chance of making the Final Four there. I spoiler alert, I think I'm gonna have Arkansas in my Final Four just because of Darius Acuff. Like I think that
Okay.
he might be the best player in the tournament, period. And then number 3, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I really liked what I saw from Vanderbilt this past week, especially with Duke Miles back and being healthy. I think they've kind of turned their play up another level, gotten back to how they were playing earlier in the year. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them in the Final Four.
I would like Vandy better if they didn't have to go through Florida again in the Sweet 16. Like, I think maybe Sunday was a little bit of a like Florida will have it in for them, I think, if they see
Yeah,
them again.
yeah.
And I don't think that's a team you want to make mad. I hope you have not yet looked in the chat because this is something I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Do you know we talked about it last night, and so I looked today. Do you know the only other time Missouri has played in St. Louis in the NCAA tournament?
Oh, somebody said it on Twitter. I want to say it was 1984,
82.
82. Okay.
Do you know the team that beat them in St. Louis?
I can't remember. No.
Phi Slamma Jamma, Clyde Drexler.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That
beat.
was my mom's favorite team.
I've got the bracket called up. Houston beat Missouri 79-78 in the Checker Dome in St. Louis. Went on to play. That's what it was called. Went on to play in the Final Four and lost to North Carolina in the national semifinals.
Who played at the Checker Dome? Like, what was it used for?
I don't know. Maybe the chat can help us out. It might have been where SLU used to play.
Okay.
I'm
gonna look it up.
I'm pretty sure Bragging Rights was played there for a little while.
Interesting.
Could be foreboding. Scott Harrison says MU missed 13 free throws in that Houston game. So, here's the one thing I'll say about Mizzou, Miami, and then we'll kind of move on to the rest of the bracket. I don't think I want to be the team that has the lead with 3 minutes left in that game because you're going to have to protect it from the free throw line, and neither one of them can shoot free throws.
Say that again. I'm sorry. I was looking at the Checker Dome.
Yeah, the Blues and Bragging Rights played there, according to the chat. It said, I don't think I want to be the team with the lead with 3 minutes to go in Mizzou, Miami, because then you're going to have to protect it from the free throw line, and I don't trust either of those teams to do that.
No, absolutely not. That is one. I don't want to say it's a benefit for Mizzou, but like Miami has also had their struggles at the free throw line this year. There's also been some games where they've been really good at the free throw line, though, and I don't know.
Right, Mizzou's looked better lately.
Well, I was talking about Miami. I was like, they've had
okay.
some games where they'll go like 22 for 25 or something like that, and Mizzou hasn't really had that many games like that. So, yeah, you just gotta kind of hope that they have an off night at the Stripe.
Yeah. I want to remind you guys we're brought to you every Monday night by James Carlton, State Farm Insurance. You can check him out at carltoninsurance.net. You can give him a call at 314-961-4800. Drew, James felt bad that he missed you at the Tiger Club last week. I don't know maybe he'll give you a break on your car insurance to make up for it. I don't know.
Well, he actually
volunteering that for him.
He did help me out with the Oklahoma incident, as the people are calling it. So shout out to James. He did make up for missing Tiger Club. Super helpful. He's my insurance agent.
There you go. Good customer service. We highly recommend you guys get in touch with James. All right. So just talking a little bit about the rest of the bracket. And guys, this is what is like, I promise you guys have looked at this thing more than Drew and I have, because as soon as Missouri popped up last night at about 5:30, like we were just busy working for the next 5 hours. Like I don't even look at the bracket until Monday morning. Just on your quick glance, Is there anything that like just jumped out at you that like, hey, I want to see this game, or hey, this team has an easy road, or this team's my upset? Anything that really hit you?
I think I'm scrolling through here. Okay, so number one, I think an upset that I'm eyeballing is North Carolina VCU. North Carolina obviously lost Caleb Wilson for the year to injury. VCU's been playing really well. So that's one first round upset I'm looking at. Another one that I've seen that is a kind of popular game is Kentucky Santa Clara.
I picked that
Kentucky,
one.
yeah, like Kentucky has not been playing their best ball lately. And then, yeah, like I think my hottest take is Arkansas going to the Final Four, just because I don't know who's stopping Darius Acuff when he's playing at this level.
Right. I've got Arkansas. I really want to see Arkansas Wisconsin in the second round. Like, I think that will be the most fun game of the NCAA tournament, because Wisconsin has its highest scoring team since 1971. Arkansas plays zero defense. Like, they don't even attempt to stop anybody. They just want to score 90. Like, I could easily see one of the teams in that game scoring 100.
Yeah, that'd be pretty easy for both of them. And they both, like, Wisconsin just bombs away from three. They've got some really good players. John Blackwell, I really like to watch him. I think for second round matchups, I like more looking at like the coaching head-to-head game. So like Rick Pitino versus Bill Self in the second round. That could be really fun. Yeah. There's also Mick Cronin, Dan Hurley in the second round. You know,
where's that game being played? Do we know? Mick Cronin is furious. He has to go to Philadelphia this week.
Yes.
Furious.
Yeah. And, you know, over under 1,000 cuss words used by those two during the game. Like,
way over.
Like the tempers, like their bald heads will be on fire by the end of it. Like, that's when I would be really interested to see in the second round.
Hayden Orchland says USF Louisville. I have that in a bracket. I could see that one happening. The one I have, Nebraska's never winning an NCAA tournament streak reaches 87 years this year. Ooh. I've got Troy in round one.
Shout out to the Sun Belt.
Yeah. And that one's really just more for vibes and hilarity than if I have any idea if it'll actually happen. I think it's a good coach. I just love the fact that Nebraska's never won an NCAA tournament game, and I want that to continue.
So Nebraska is a 13.5-point favorite.
So that'd be a pretty big upset.
It'd be a big upset, but I wouldn't put it past them. My old editor Gabe had a quote or a catchphrase, which was Sunbelt basketball is exclusively played in the Thunderdome. So like Nebraska's got to be ready for it.
Not the Checkerdome, the Thunderdome.
The
Thunderdome. So you mentioned Self and Pitino. Here's my hot take. Duke has the easiest path to the Final Four because the East region is loaded with name programs that aren't actually as good as they usually are. I don't think UConn is national title UConn. Now, they still scare you in the tournament. But, like, I don't think they're as good as they have been. They're, 29-5. They're a good team, but I don't think they're quite as good as they have been. UCLA, obviously, huge name. Not a great team. Louisville, huge name. Not a great team. Michigan State, huge name. 3 seed. I don't know if I really think they should be a 3 seed. St. John's, look, I saw them miss 17 straight shots to end a game, and Kansas is the 4 seed. I don't know that I trust Kansas. Like, I think it's the bracket that the casual fan looks at and says, oh my God, how are all these teams in this bracket? But I think all of them might be like a seed line too high.
It's definitely a lot of name brands, and even like the 8-9 seed is Ohio State, TCU, and you know, I think Ohio State has been playing pretty well as of late. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I just don't see anyone capable of knocking off Duke in this region. Yeah. Like, I think that they are clearly head and shoulders above every other team that's in the field. So I don't see any other outcome other than Duke making it to the Final Four.
Mike Benning is Akron, the new Cinderella darling, to go to the Sweet 16. I actually did pick that in one bracket. They're going to be a super popular upset pick over Texas Tech without JT Toppin.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know anything about
John
Akron
Gross is a
basketball.
good coach. He's been there a long time. He's done a good job. It's gonna be that. Sorry to bring up bad memories. It's going to be that Drake, Missouri pick that is so popular to make that it's almost not even an upset anymore if it happens.
Yeah, I could see that.
Hey, I got fooled on that one last year. I'm not going to get fooled again. I better hop on that Akron bandwagon.
How do we feel about Hofstra against Alabama now that we know Aiden Holloway not going to play?
Not great. I mean, based on my depth of knowledge of Hofstra, which is absolutely zero, I don't feel great.
So here's a question I got for you, Gabe. Out of the 4 play-in teams, usually there's one that makes a run to the Sweet 16. Which team do you feel like has the best chance for that this year?
It's Texas, man. Like, Texas has talent that is better than where it's playing in this turn. And they deserve to be in the playing game, I think. Like, they earned that. But, like, if you get the big guy going, Pope can play, Dalen Swain can play. Like, BYU, I love BYU, and AJ DeBonta, he is fun as hell to watch. But I could see that being a team that, Texas can get in the first round. And then if they get by them, I don't know, Gonzaga. I'm not going to pretend to watch Gonzaga play this year. So they're good, but like, I haven't heard a lot about them since they beat Kentucky by 97 points in December.
I'm surprised you're not a Miami believer, Gabe.
Miami, Ohio?
Yeah.
No, they're going to lose to SMU.
Probably so. Another second round matchup we didn't really talk about, but it would be interesting from a coaching perspective, is Mizzou Purdue. And I don't know, all the details about Matt Painter's, brief time here, but it would be an interesting storyline to cover if it were to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the Cliff Notes version, for those of you in the chat, mostly who are probably reliving this, but some of you who maybe don't know or don't remember. I mean, Matt Painter told Missouri he was taking the job. He just did. He told Missouri he was coming. Missouri didn't get anything signed. They got on the airplane back to Columbia. The story broke. Matt Painter went to tell his team, and between having to tell his team and Gene Katie begging him to stay, he backed out. And he stayed at Purdue, and Missouri hired then Miami coach Frank Haith, which actually went really, really well for a year. And then not quite as well by the time he left for Tulsa. Yeah. But, it is one of the biggest what ifs, definitely. What if Missouri had gotten something signed, or what if he hadn't backed out and had taken that job? Because Purdue, while it, hasn't won everything, like I think it's fair to say top 10 program of the last, 12 years since he made that decision.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, let's wrap up the bracket talk with Hayden Orslin, Final Four picks. Are you ready, or do you want me to go first? Because I know what mine are.
You go first.
Okay, I've got Duke, I've got Houston, I've got Arizona, and I've got Iowa State beating Michigan. It's 2 1 seeds, 2 2 seeds. I've got Arizona over Duke in the national title game. I watched Arizona play, I don't know, sometime in January, and I was just mesmerized by that team. Like, I fill out a bracket. The way I fill out a bracket is if they play the best game they can play 6 nights in a row, who's the best team? And I think it's Arizona.
Yeah, that's fair. Arizona is really, really good. For me, I think I got to stick with my Arkansas pick, though. So I got Arkansas in the West. I got Duke in the East. In the South, I'm gonna go Houston too. I I think Houston's just so good, and they're so like well equipped for this tournament every single season. They always come up just a little bit short. I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois made a run as well, though. So I think it's going to be one of those two. And then in the Midwest, I hate to go chalk, but I don't really love anyone other than Michigan and Iowa State in that field. I kind of lean toward Michigan just because of the success that Dusty May has had in this time of year in recent years. So I think that's where I'm going to go.
I picked Iowa State, honestly, because I hate picking more than 2 1 seeds, and I had already picked 2, so I just picked Iowa State. So it was a 2. Freeway Jared, appreciate the super chat, man. I believe that's maybe a Michigan logo there. So Freeway Jared's pick is Michigan. All right, so I wanted to spend the last like 15, 20 minutes just kind of like, this is like the Instagram thing that's like guys can just sit around and talk about name old athletes all night, right? And entertain themselves. I just wanted to talk some NCAA tournament stuff. I wanted to start, and I wanted to tell you guys, I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I reached out to Ricky Paulding today to see if I could get Ricky to do something with me this week, because the only other time Mizzou and Miami played was in the 2002 NCAA tournament when Mizzou was a 12 seed and beat Miami in the first round, then beat Ohio State in round 2. Ricky Paulding had the greatest dunk I've ever seen in Mizzou basketball history coming down the lane against Ohio State. Then they beat UCLA, went to the Elite Eight, and lost to Oklahoma. So that's the only other game between Mizzou and Miami. I'm going to start this, Drew, by asking you a question that I know the answer is going to make me mad, so I don't know why I'm asking it. What's the first like national title game NCAA tournament you remember?
Good question, Gabe. So I've mentioned this before. My dad is an Ohio State grad. He walked onto the track team there.
You're going to say like Greg Oden and Mike Conley, and it's going to make me so mad.
That's the game, Gabe. I was so excited. I love that team. Felt so bad when Greg Oden had all his injuries in the NBA, but I've always been a Joakim Noah hater because of that game.
So what was that? Was that what, 06?
07, I want to say.
07.
Yeah. That makes you mad?
Okay. Oh, well, you're just young, man. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Like, I knew that's when it was going to be. It's nothing against Ohio State or Greg Oden or Mike Conley. I don't care. I just knew you were going to say something that was like, I was like, oh, cool. I'd already been covering Mizzou for like 4 years. Because the first one I remember is the Georgetown Villanova game in 1985.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a little bit before your time.
Little farther back than my first memory. Yeah.
Dwayne McClain, Villanova played basically the perfect game. It was that was the first one I remember. Then the first like great player I remember in the NCAA tournament. I'll be interested to know if you have ever heard of this guy. He has one of the greatest names in college basketball history. Are you familiar with Never Nervous Purvis Ellison?
I am. Yes.
Okay. He was Carmelo Anthony before Carmelo Anthony. Like, he was a true freshman who led Louisville to the 1986 national title. Bonus, he beat Kansas in that title game. So liked him a little bit more as a 10-year-old. But that was the first, like, because like I remember the 85 game happening and kind of watching it, but that was the first like superstar player I remember coming out of the tournament.
Yeah.
Was yours Oden, I guess?
Oden was up there. I'm trying to think of who else was like the Kemba Walker with UConn. I think that was my first time watching somebody like completely carry their team to the tournament through the tournament. I'm trying to remember if there's any other big names that would have done it. I don't know if it was before or after, but Gordon Hayward with Butler, I think, was another one. Yeah. So yeah,
that's one of the all-time best title games.
You think so?
Just because of the way it ended.
Okay.
I mean, had he made that shot, I think it's the most iconic shot in NCAA tournament history.
Probably so.
Butler to beat Duke. I can't imagine anything bigger.
I think I got that game confused with the other Butler championship game. Yeah, which was significantly less interesting.
Fair. What is like the best national title game you remember?
Gonzaga, North Carolina is up there for sure.
Okay.
And then Villanova, Gonzaga.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Sorry. The Chris Jenkins game?
Yes.
Yeah. The first like incredible national title game I remember is Keith Smart beating Syracuse in 1987 with the baseline jumper. That one always kind of like, I think you tend to go back to the ones that like when you were becoming a sports fan and they seem even better. 39. God, that was 39 years.
I was going to say, Gabe, you keep naming these games from 40 years back.
I'm so old. I mean, I'm trying to think what other ones in there, like there kind of was a little bit of a run of blowouts. I remember Ramil Robinson winning it for Michigan in 1989, I believe, over Seton Hall. That was close. But yeah, there is another one like the 2000, I guess it was 2008 title game. It was one of the best title games ever, but I simply refuse to acknowledge Mario Chalmers in Kansas. So I don't put it in the conversation. Freeway Jared with a better one. Hakeem Warwick blocking Michael Lee for the Syracuse one. I think that was 3, maybe. That was a good one.
That was a really good one.
Like, give me just a random like NCAA tournament. Well, I don't care if it's famous or whatever, something that sticks with you that like one of your favorite NCAA tournament memories.
One of my favorite NCAA tournament memories. That's a good question. I can give you my origin story to becoming a basketball reporter. So this was 2018. I'm a senior at Texas in my last semester, and every year at the Final Four, the USBWA holds like a seminar where they invite students to come out. You can they have like professional reporters, talk to you, give you advice, and you can network with people. And then there's also like a writing contest where you actually like try to preview one of the games, and there's a grant prize at the end. And so that day I had covered like the 3-point shootout the night before in San Antonio, because one of Texas's women's players was in it, and it was like a total bust. Like there wasn't anything interesting about it. But the next day is the Final Four media day in San Antonio. I still had homework to do, so I'm like working on my laptop as I'm getting driven down there. We show up, we can't find where the seminar is being held, so we're late to the seminar. And then they just kind of like release us and tell us like, okay, write a preview. And I have no idea what I'm writing about yet. And I have this idea of like, well, it's Villanova's second time in the Final Four in 3 years. Like, I think there's got to be something interesting there. And that year they had Jalen Brunson, they had Omari Spellman, they had Mikal Bridges, Dante DiVincenzo, like all NBA guys. So every single one of their press conferences is completely packed. There's no shot I'm getting a question in. There's also a fifth starter named Phil Booth, and his press conference room is empty. And I go in there, I get a couple questions in with them. And then after the fact, I realized like Phil Booth is the only starter who was like actually in the game when Chris Jenkins hit the shot. And he actually had like the best game on the team that night. He had 20 points for them. And the next year had gotten injured and got a red shirt. And so he was back for one more year at Villanova. And what's interesting, Gabe, is if you go back and watch that play, like Chris Jenkins had a good shot, but Phil Booth was even more open. Like if they had swung the ball to him, he would have had a wide open look from three. And so I just kind of wrote about, hey, like this was Phil Booth 2 years ago, and he's still, making an important contribution to the team. And I ended up winning the writing contest like
There
that.
you go.
Got a $1,000 grant. I was like, I got to do this for the rest of my life. So,
and see, that was when you thought, wait, I'm going to get paid really well for writing about sports. You figured out that was bullshit. But.
Exactly.
Yeah, my NCAA tournament origin story, not like my being a sports reporter, but was, and I think I've told this before, was the 1990 NCAA tournament. I was in 8th grade, and I went to school in Northern Iowa, played Missouri. Missouri was a 3 seed. Northern Iowa was a 14. And I stepped out of band class and called my mom on the school payphone to ask what the score was. And she said they lost, and I didn't believe her, but they had actually lost. And so I never again went to school or work on the day of the NCAA tournament. My 2.0 version of that story. So when my first year having a real job, I was in Rapid City, South Dakota. Missouri played North Carolina in an 8-9 game. Would have been, I don't know, 2000, somewhere around there. Quinn Snyder's first year, I think. And the first round of the tournament, the first day of the first round was on St. Patrick's Day. And that was when Missouri played. And so I took the day off work, and my then girlfriend, now wife, was working at the TV station. And so I was like, I'm going to go watch the tournament. When you get off work at 10:30, we can go out for St. Patrick's Day. So I am at the Irish bar by myself watching Missouri, North Carolina, and then multiple other games. Let's just say I did not make it till 10:30. We did not make it out for St. Patrick's Day that evening. So the NCAA tournament has interrupted many moments in my life.
Well, and understandably, like this is the one event that I think you're allowed to have moments in your life interrupted by.
I saw a great thing today that was like, nobody remembers who their best teachers were, but we remember the ones that let us watch the NCAA tournament in school. I remember those ones. They were the best.
All right, let's
end on a down note. Worst NCAA tournament moment.
Worst NCAA tournament memory. I think it was probably 2019. Texas won the Big 12 tournament and then turned around and got upset by SFA in the first round. And I watched that game like wearing a Big 12 title shirt. Like that was a pretty big letdown. Ohio State losing to Florida will always stick with me for sure. You know what? Another one, like Ohio State just had a whole string of disappointing tournament finishes after that. Like the Aaron Craft teams were always like a letdown. The Jared Sullinger, those teams, like every year I would get my hopes up and they always just like fell a little bit short. So I have a lot of bad Ohio State basketball memories.
Well, and my answer to this is so easy, because if the team you cheer for is on the bad end of a highlight that they still legitimately play on the tournament intro 32 years later, like nothing in my life as a sports fan, and this is obviously, I was a freshman at Missouri when this happened, so this is obviously before I covered them or anything. I can't imagine anything in my life as a sports fan being as hideously painful as the 4.8 seconds when that shot went in. Like I was watching with 30 guys in my fraternity, and like the level of noise from when Missouri made the shot with 4.8 seconds to go to then Edney made the shot, like it was like being in an arena where everybody there's just no sound. It was just like, oh my, how did this just happen? It was the worst.
I hate that.
My second worst would be the 2009 final or Elite Eight. Missouri's a 3 seed. They beat Memphis in the Sweet 16, and I think the best game Missouri's ever played. And then they lost to Connecticut in the Elite Eight. And the main reason with that one was, so Missouri had played their first 2 games in Boise that year, and I had traveled and covered that. And then the next 2 games were in Glendale, Arizona. And like, dude, we didn't have the number of subscribers we have now. This was not a 4 or 5 person operation. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a stringer for the games in Arizona, and I'm gonna credential them under us so that if they go to the Final Four, I can cover. Like, I can't afford to make 3 road trips in 3 weeks. We don't have the money. So I'm gonna get a stringer in Glendale so that I can cover a Final Four, because literally that has been the one thing I've wanted to cover since I started in this business. I want to cover a Final Four, and I'm never going to go to a Final Four if I don't cover it. And like, that team was on the verge. I thought I was going to get to cover it, but I didn't get to cover
it. I've gone back and looked at which Ohio State teams I'm most upset about. So this was what year is this? 2012. They make it to the Final Four, lose to Kansas by 2 points. 2013, they get upset by Wichita State in the Elite Eight. Next year, bounced by Arizona. Yeah, that team. Next year, bounced by Arizona in the second round. And then 2014, upset by Dayton as a 6th seed. And it was Aaron Craft's senior year. I was heartbroken over that one. So just like a whole string of tough losses, man. I had to stop being a Buckeye fan after that.
I mean, Drew, I grew up cheering for a team that lost in the NCAA tournament to Xavier, Richmond, and Northern Iowa, and I believe those all came in a 5-year span. It was tough out there, man. Like, that is why I do understand to some extent the skepticism of this fan base, especially when it comes to this tournament. Like, there have been very few really, really good moments for Missouri in this tournament. Man, there have been some real bad ones. Like, you can put up a list of most painful Missouri losses, and like, here's how bad it is. I don't even know if Drake makes that list if you're going 5 deep.
Golly, that's crazy. Actually,
it's rough, man. It's rough.
That's tough.
So, guys, we hope Friday night goes better. For your sake, for our sake, we love covering this tournament. Like, it is no fun when you go and it is over in 2.5 hours. Like, Drew and I want this thing to go at least till Sunday. It'd be great if it goes beyond that. Although, I'll be honest, I checked airfare to San Jose. Great might be a little too strong of a word, but it would be fun for you guys. It would be enjoyable for us. This is like why we've done the last 4 months. So we hope it continues. Drew will be in St. Louis on Thursday for Media Day. We'll have full coverage from there. Depending on when it is, we would like to do one last preview show on Thursday night. But Drew, we don't have a schedule yet, do we?
We do not yet, but
yeah,
we'll make it happen.
Yeah, we will do a preview show for you guys at some point Thursday night. Again, I'm hoping to maybe get Ricky Paulding, do something for you guys in the next couple days. But until then,
we got the late game on Friday. We could do it Friday morning if we need to.
We honestly could do it Friday morning. That's fair. Look, my entire day Friday is going to be planned on when do I get my naps? Maybe 2. Definitely going to be at least 1, but there may be 2. So we'll figure that out. I'm going to figure out how I can park overnight in St. Louis. Many things, many logistical things, but we will cover it all, guys. Appreciate you hanging out here, and like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those things. Watch the show from last night. We'll be back Thursday. Check out all of our coverage coming up. And one more thing. Hit up James Carlton, 314-961-4800. Make him your insurance agent, and we will talk to you later on.
Dang, we ran out of time to talk more about Sean Phillips.